Welcome back to the V's Showdown. Today we're diving into another what-if scenario. What if Godzilla never evolved? A single change sends the monsterverse down a completely different path, forcing old allies, ancient rivals, and powerful titans into a battle unlike anything they've faced before. Will Earth's defenders overcome the impossible, or will this timeline fall into chaos? Let's find out. Kong lands on the ground with his axe on his back, running away from a pack of wart dogs. Kong jumps across a canyon, the Earth dogs follow, but some fall into the cavern, but most make it. Kong runs before reaching a cliff. He turns around and sees the pack coming to a stop. The wart dogs growl as one jumps. Kong grabs his axle and slices the titan in half. Another one jumps. As it does, Kong slams his axe into the ground, making a pit collapse, having them fall onto a floor of spikes. Most of them fall in as the others get scared and retreat. Kong huffs about to walk away, but the ground starts to shake as the pit grows, revealing a deep save of crystals. Kong, now curious, jumps down the hole, his axe grinding against the crystals as he sticks the landing. On the surface, Scylla's claw stabs into a building as she attacks Rome. People run and scream as Godzilla rises onto the land, roaring at her. Scylla slams her front legs into the ground, roaring, and charges. Godzilla rams his shoulder into her, making her stumble. He grabs her leg and throws her across the city. She slides and her back crashes into a building. Godzilla roars as he jumps into the air and lands onto Scylla. She tries to stab her claws into him, but he grabs them, stabbing them into herself. She wraps her tentacles around Goji's mouth, trying to keep it shut. But he fires his atomic breath down her throat, overloading her, and she explodes. He roars into the sky before he gets a signal. He shakes his head and roars as he jumps back into the water. Kong walks through a waterfall, his eyes widening at the landscape. He walks through it, seeing warbats fly around, skull crawlers fighting over food, a drowned viper swimming around in a lake. It's beautiful. But before he can do much, he suddenly gets ramped into by something from behind. He falls onto the ground before getting up quickly, his grip on the axe tightening as he sees them. A pack of 3 V-Rexes. One of them charges, trying to bite Kong's arm, but he dodges and stabs the axe into its neck, spinning it around and throwing it at the other Rexes. Suddenly, a 4th V-Tex comes up behind him and bites down onto his shoulder. Kong roars in pain, throwing his body forward, making the V-Rex fall onto his back before Long kicks him away. The biggest V-Rex at the head of the ground charges, and Kong makes him bite down onto his axe handle, trying to fight him off. The other V-Rex separate, going in different directions. One goes for Kong's leg, but he kicks her away. Kong roars and spins around the main V-Rex, still holding onto the axe, and slams into the other one that tried to go for his leg. The V-Rex lets go, and Kong turns around and drives the axe blade into the head of the other Rex. The main Rex gets up and charges. Kong tries to pull the car out, but it's stuck. Kong stops trying to turn and catches the V-Rex's jaw in his hands, preventing him from biting. Kong slams the V-Rex into the ground, getting onto him, and grabs his jaws and spits them apart, forcing them down, breaking his jaws completely. Kong stands up and roars into the sky. Kong grabs his axe, forcing it out of the head, and walks off. Kong walks into the fog, trying to see ahead, but he sees a silhouette of an ape. Kong gets his axe ready before the silhouette shrinks and reveals a tiny young Kong, Zuko. Kong lowers his axe before another great ape hits him in the head with a rock. Kong spins around and hits the ape in the head with the back of the axe, sending the ape flying. Another one charges with a big club made out of bone, but Kong grabs the club and throws the ape away. Sumo jumps onto Kong's face. He grabs the young ape and swings him into the other great apes, knocking them out completely. Kong hangs Zuko in the air by his leg, roaring at him, telling him to bring him to where he came from. Kong lets Zuko down onto the ground and he starts to walk off, and Kong follows, grabbing his axe. Back on the surface, French jets fly through the sky, firing at Godzilla, who's absorbing a nuclear power plant, draining it completely. Godzilla roars, hitting a jet out of the sky. He reaches up, grabbing another jet, blowing it up in his hand. Godzilla leans down, his body glowing bright blue, before sending out a pulse that vaporizes the jets in the air, roaring into the sky. Kong enters a cave, looking around, his eyes widening in horror as he sees hundreds of apes moving giant stone blocks, exhausted, underfed. Kong jumps down, landing into the circle, looking around, and then he hears a roar. He looks behind him, seeing a thin red ape landing onto the ground, Scar King. Scar King swings his bone whip, and he swings it towards Kong, wrapping around Kong's axe. Kong pulls back, but Scar King swings, pulling the axe out of Kong's hand. Kong charges, trying to punch Scar, but he misses the red ape, jumping onto Kong's back, wrapping the whip around his neck, choking him. Kong reaches back, grabbing Scar King, and throws him onto the ground, grabbing him and throws him. Scar King stands up, wiping the blood off his lip as he smirks, aiming the crystal at the end of his, while towards the lava, and a rock covers the following lava, revealing glowing blue eyes. Kong tenses up as Shimo steps out of the shadows, roaring. Scar King demands Shimo to shoot her frostbite blast. Shimo slams her head against the ground before her crystals glow on her back, and she shoots a beam. Kong dodges, falling onto the ground. He grabs his axe and blocks the next beam, the frostbite climbing up his arm. Godzilla walks through France, jumping into the water, boiling it, heading to the Arctic. Kong walks, Suko supporting him. As Kong walks through the organic wall, the people about to enter as they follow. Soon a yellow aircraft letting go of the beast glove, flying over and going onto Kong's arm. He struggles to stand up before roaring into the air, slamming his fist into the ground with a burst of electricity. Sand sinks into the ground as Kong enters the surface, getting onto land. Godzilla, who was still swimming to the Arctic, senses Kong and does a sharp turn towards Egypt. He swims in the channel, his dorsal plates slicing through the bridges, the water boiling. He jumps onto land, roaring as he charges. Kong looks at Godzilla, not really knowing how to convince him to go into the portal. Godzilla crushes through the build, stepping onto the sand, his heat turning it into glass. Kong points towards the portal, then at Godzilla. The Alpha roars angrily. Kong extends his arms out to stop Godzilla before being rammed through a pyramid, his fur burning slightly. Kong slides across the sand, his back slamming against a pyramid. Godzilla charges. Kong rolls out of the way as he crashes through the pyramid, roaring in anger as he turns around to only get punched in the face, making him slam into the ground. Kong jumps into Godzilla, punching him over and over again. Godzilla's body glows blue as he's gonna pulse before he gets knocked out. He opens his eyes, Kong dragging him by the tail. His dorsal plates glow bright as he shoots his atomic breath. Kong dodges behind the remaining pyramids. Kong can't see anything, the dust is too thick, until Godzilla rams into Kong, knocking him to the ground, slamming his foot onto his chest, making Kong roar in pain. Godzilla looks into the air, charging up before he gets knocked off by a beam of light. Mothra lands on the ground, looking at Godzilla. Goji gets up and roars into the sky, the other two titans joining. The wall turns to ice as Scar King shatters it. The red ape looks at the ceiling, seeing the vortexes. He smiles before he hears a low rumble, a shockwave hitting him back, rolling onto his feet, getting onto Shimo as Godzilla and Kong jump out of the ground, charging. Scar King points the axe at the two alphas as Shimo charges. They all jump into the air, the gravity being disabled, and they all fly in the air. Godzilla jumps off Rock's tail, whipping great apes and grabbing hold of Shimo before kicking her off. Scar King tries to hit Kong with the axe, but he blocks it with the beast glove. The gravity slowly returns as all four of them fall through the portal. The ocean freezes over as Shimo lands onto the ice, Scar King landing onto the sand. He gets up, looking at the sun. He smirks. He looks down and roars at the running humans. He grabs his whip, demanding Shimo. Shimo charges up and shoots her beam at the buildings, freezing them solid. She looks up and shoots the beam into the sky, storm clouds clustering together. She's suddenly knocked off balance from a pulse that destroys all the ice as Godzilla raises up, roaring. Scar King gets punched in the face by Kong, his tooth being knocked out. Godzilla charges at Shimo, pushing her through multiple buildings. Scar stands up, wiping his mouth. He jumps onto a building, Kong trying to follow before he swings around and kicks Kong away, but he catches himself from falling over. Scar King goes for a punch, but Kong grabs him, throwing him to the ground. He quickly grabs the crystal as Kong gets tail whipped by Shimo. Shimo looks forward to only see Godzilla in the air landing onto her, knocking her to the ground as he's gonna fire a beam before Shimo throws him off. Kong punches Scar King across the city as he quickly hides behind buildings. Kong is about to follow until Shimo bites down onto his arm, swinging him into the builds around them before she gets hit by Goji's atomic breath, making her let go of Kong. She roars as Godzilla charges at her before a purple glow covers his face, and he gets hit in the chest by a purple beam. He crashes to the ground, being out of breath. Scar King's head rolls out of the smoke as a shadowy figure looms over all of them with wings and glowing yellow eyes holding Scar King's body. It roars, Destoria. He throws the ape's body as Godzilla gets up, hitting him back down. Kong roars, jumping onto the side of a building, his beast glove charging with energy. As he falls down, punching Destoria's head into the building, but red kaiju head puts Kong to the ground, his back spikes glowing a bright purple before Shimo rams eye to him, knocking him back as she tries her best to push him. Destoria roars, grabbing onto the ice, tighten his claws digging into her scales as he lifts her above his head and throws her across the city, slamming into multiple buildings. Godzilla runs up next to Destoria, shooting his beam. It hits the red devil's face before he blocks it with his hand and clams his claws around Goji's head before letting go, tail whipping him down, grabbing his tail and throwing him into the water. Kong gets up trying to run away, seeing the purple glow wash across the ground behind him before he sees Suko holding his axe. Kong runs over to him, grabbing the axe, and within a second blocks Destoria's beam with the axe blade. The blade is able to absorb the energy due to Destoria having some of Godzilla's DNA mixed with Ghidorah in him already. Suddenly, a web covers Destoria's mouth, sealing it shut before he rips it off, looking at the sky, seeing Mothra. Kong runs up to Destoria, stabbing the blade into his chest. A small shock wave shooting out as the energy is released knocks Destoria back, before Godzilla goes up beside him, charging up, and pulses making him stumble as Mothra blasts him to the ground with her light, making him slam into it. They all stand around him ready to attack until he unfolds his wings and launches into the air and swings his head, a yellow slash going through the air, slicing Mothra's wing off. Godzilla roars, shooting his beam, but Destoria swoops down, grabbing Godzilla and bringing him high above the clouds. Godzilla looks down, seeing the ground, but he still pulses, having Destoria let go as he falls back down to Earth. He slams into Earth, creating a small-sized crater as he lifts his head up, seeing the devil himself land in front of him. Destoria's back glows a bright purple and grabs Godzilla's head, forcing his jaw open, as the other titans around watch, unable to stop the inevitable as a purple beam shoots his beam straight down Goji's throat, eventually stopping with smoke rising from Godzilla's mouth as he drops the body. Destoria flies on top of one of the mountains in Rio, spreading his wings out as he does the alpha call. His roar is mixed with Godzilla's and Ghidorah's, sounding like the devil is screaming. Titans across the globe react violently. Destoria isn't giving a command but war call. Every titan reacts violently, attacking any cities, towns, or other titans. Hollow earth warbats fly through the air, attacking other warbats. Wart dogs jump into skull crawlers. More squid tentacles wrap around the drowned viper as they fight. On the surface, Rodden flies around, immediately diving, bombing Ambula, who just walked into the surface, burning his tree-like body. Shimo stands up, reacting the same way, and is already charging up her beam. Kong roars at her, beating his chest, commanding her to stand down using his alpha status. Shimo shakes her head, looking at Kong briefly before Destroya jumps down, landing. Titans start to arrive. Methuselah, Behemoth, Kumonga, and many others don't hesitate and start fighting each other. Kong goes for Destoria before he looks over and sees Behemoth charging at full speed at him. He turns around and catches his tusks holding him back. Shimo tail whip Methuselah away from her as Rodden flies in the sky, dive bombing Destoria. The red titan shoots a beam into the sky, hitting Rodden, throwing him off balance and crashes into the ground, his flames flickering. Mothra crawls across the ground, avoiding all the mayhem as she crawls onto Goji's body, healing him with her power, as Destoria holds Rodden up, snapping his neck. Before throwing him against Kumonga, who he stomps on, crushing. Suddenly, hundreds of Mothra long-legged spiders swarm Destoria. He beams them down as Abandon emerges from the ground, having her spider minions fight Destoria. He shoots a beam at her, which slides through her legs, making her body fall against the ground. Godzilla's eyes open as he looks at Mothra, still too weak to get up. A red jet flies down, releasing some type of craft as it lands onto Goji's back, extending, latching onto him, as it injects him with the same energy power-up and pain-reduced serum that Kong got. Project Powerhouse didn't only apply to Kong, but they made a modification to make Godzilla stronger too. The Mega Modification, Monarch Energy Grid Amplifier. Godzilla stands up, his eyes glowing red as he roars at Destoria. He looks back, seeing Godzilla. He laughs, ready to have a round toe, until he's shot to the ground by Goji's upgraded red beam. Destoria roars in pain as he shoots his beam back, colliding as Goji's beam overpowers and hits Destoria again. Godzilla charges at him, jumping into the air, crashing onto him, scratching his face, ripping out his left eye. Destoria's tail grabs onto Goji's neck and slams him into the ground. He gets up, grabbing Goji, and slams him into the ground over and over again until he throws him against the mouth. Destoria gets closer before the red beam shoots out again. Destroya shoots his beam, but he knows he won't win, just like last time. He looks over, seeing Mothra crawling away, but he grabs her body with her tail, lifting her up, absorbing her energy. His eyes glow brighter as his purple beam gets a golden tint as it reaches a stalemate with Goji's beam. Godzilla shoots his beam at full power, reaching Destoria just before it hits his face, and the Devil Titan unleashes his full energy into the beam. It hits Goji in the chest, making him roar in pain as he falls over. Destoria slowly walks towards him, dropping Mothra onto the ground. Godzilla looks over, seeing the Queen Muto attacking Methuselah. He roars, commanding her to go and evolve into her prime form. Queen Muto, looking over at Goji, listens to his alpha status, overpowering Destoria's as she goes into the water. Godzilla gets lifted into the air by Destoria. He's about to land the killing blow before he gets hit in the back by Behemoth. Kong runs up and stabs his axe into his back. Destoria roars, letting go of Godzilla as he flies into the air, slamming his back against the ground. Kong holding onto the axe for dear life. Destoria reaches back, using his tail to throw Kong away, and Godzilla bites down onto his arm, keeping him from using it. He reaches over to grab Godzilla, but Kong comes in, holding back his other arm as Shimo shoots her frost bite blast at him, freezing him in ice. Both Alpha Titans step back as they look at the frozen Destoria. Suddenly they feel a pulse, faint, but they're coming from Destoria. Kong takes a few steps back as Godzilla narrows his eyes before a giant explosion shoots out, knocking both Kong, Godzilla, Shimo, and many other Titans flying backwards into the ground. Godzilla gets up, the mega attachment sparking with electricity. As he looks over and sees Destoria standing, he shoots his beam as the Titan blocks it with his hand, burning off his flesh, before he flies into the air, landing in front of Godzilla and punching his across the face. Godzilla lands in his arms, using the momentum, and slams his tail into Destoria before rushing at him, digging his claws into Destoria's chest, and shoots his beam before getting head butted by Destoria, knocking him down. Destoria stands over him before Kong grabs his axe out of Destoria's back and stabs him into his leg. He growls, annoyed by the ape's attempts to hurt him. He grabs Kong and throws him across the flat terrain. Shimo gets in front of him, getting onto her back legs, stabbing her claws into his face before getting punched hard enough to make some of her teeth fall out, and falls to the ground, being picked up and tossed aside. Destoria slams his foot down onto Godzilla, breaking a few of his ribs as he roars in pain. Before he can do more, a loud sonic road hits him. He roars in pain as his head spike shatters. He flies into the air, turning around and seeing the Prime Queen. The Queen Muto did what was told and evolved into her final stage as a Prime. She slams her front arms down, roaring. Destoria charges at her. He goes for a punch, but her armor is too tough, and she slams her massive forearm into his jaw, making him stumble back. He roars and shoots his beam, which she blocks. She roars and slams her arms into the ground, creating a dust cloud as she digs. Destoria claws at the air, trying to hit her without knowing she's under him. He sees the hole, realizing too late before a sonic roar tears through the ground under him, making him roar in pain, his spikes shatter. Purple and yellow smoke raises from his back and head horn spot before he shoots a blast straight down, stopping the sonic roar and making the ground shake as the beam goes right through the crush, reaching down to hollow earth as the Prime Queen falls through the air and lands onto the ground. He roars down the hole before Godzilla rams his side, his back glowing a bright blue and red as the Mega modification shakes and breaks from the amount of damage and energy it took. And within a few seconds, Destoria grabs Goji right when the explosion rings out to access the land. Godzilla lands a mile away, looking up from the ground, seeing the devil still standing with his left arm. He used to grab him, now gone, along with most of his left half showing his bones. He glares at Godzilla before he shoots his beam, and Kong quickly lands right in front of Godzilla, catching the beam at his axe as he roars. The beam melting the axe to his hand, his fur burning off as Destoria stops, and Kong charges and stabs the axe right in the Red Titan's neck as it explodes, disintegrating Kong and most of Reap, as all the Titans get sent flying back miles into the water. Godzilla quickly surfaces again, seeing nothing but rubble, until a pile of rocks move as Destoria claws out of it, having no arms and half a leg, using his wings to prop himself up. He roars, gurgled by his blood, as his chest opens up, a green glow oozing out before Godzilla can do anything. Shimo names multiple layers of ice spikes in front of him, as Destoria's chest gets blown open by a large green beam ripping through the ice and hitting Godzilla, the chest going right through him. Destoria finally falls over, using his last bit of energy in that beam. Godzilla lies there barely alive. He'll live. He just needs to lay there for a few years for the amount of radiation that Destoria outputs. Godzilla can heal from his injury as he closes his eyes. 72 years later, Rio is now covered by greenery. A landmass shifts as rocks fall off the Godzilla as he rises, moss and trees having grown on him. His chest now fully healed, he roars into the sky, reclaiming his crown after the 72-year hibernation. And that wraps up this Titan showdown. Sometimes the greatest battles aren't won by strength alone, but by the sacrifices made along the way. One choice changed the course of history, leaving the world forever scarred. But the story doesn't end here. The Monsterverse is filled with endless possibilities, and there are still many more timelines waiting to be explored. Until next time, stay epic.